Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have one of the most beautiful looking models that has ever existed, if you ask me. Something I have been looking forward to for so unbelievably long, and I am so over the moon excited that it is finally here. It was quite a little wait for it to actually arrive, and we now have it here. This is the newest Memory Museum model, the newest dinosaur addition to the Memory Museum line, as we have the Bajadasaurus, and the box is so absolutely huge I had to go outside just to film the box because it did not fit on my review station, so that's why we are out here now with the box taking a look at it. As you can see, as far as the actual box art goes, we have that kind of standard look to the front packaging of the Memory Museum line, which I really love. I think that they do a fantastic job on the artwork for this line consistently on the boxes. And we can see a really nice looking backdrop with an image of our Bajadasaurus here front and center, looking just beyond gorgeous. I think this might be the first actual resin model of a Bajadasaurus that has been released, or at least that I've heard of so far, so that's really exciting. They actually got this out pretty quickly, and the fact that Keith Strasser is the sculptor of this is really cool as well, as he's the one that sculpted the Carnotaurus for the Memory Museum line, I do believe. So let's go ahead, head back inside, open this up, and take a look at this beautiful model. So I just pulled the Bajadasaurus out of the box, and I'm not going to lie to you guys, it is probably the most striking model that I have in my collection. This thing is insane. But before we bring that in, we want to take a quick look at the base that is included with the Bajadasaurus, and it looks as though we have those kind of magnets here with the feet again, which is something they were doing, but then they stopped as far as the bases and the magnet deal goes for the Carnotaurus, and then we also had a primitive man and a crocodile, and none of those had those magnets for the bases, so I wasn't sure if they were done with them or what exactly was going on, but it appears as though they are making a comeback, and I really do love the magnet additions to the bases. I'm always a big fan of that when they do that because I feel like it really holds the dinosaurs on nice and stable, and it's a really cool and convenient way to apply a dinosaur to the base. But you can see we have a nice earthy area for the base, quite beautifully sculpted and painted, and then we have that kind of marble-like look for the lower part of the base, which is pretty much, again, your standard as far as these figures go, these models go. So really nice looking base. And then we have our beautiful, oh boy, look at it, just grabs it right on there, Bajadasaurus, which you can't exactly see right now because we're too close. But as we move out here and get a better view, wow, is that insane. Even looking at it here through the camera, that is just so impressive to me. One of the most striking models in my collection, if not the most striking model, no questions asked. That is just a beautiful looking sculpt. So unique and interesting as far as the dinosaur goes, pretty much like an inverted Amargasaurus, and it is just beyond beautiful as far as what Memory Museum has done here with it. The sculpt looks gorgeous beyond belief. The paintwork as well is really nice, really natural, exactly the type of paint application that I like to see on sauropods, as well as adding that nice hint of flashiness up there on those very large spines on the back of the neck with those kind of like stripes and stuff. It looks super, super cool. So I'm really psyched about this. Let's just go ahead, jump straight to a closer look right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Bajadasaurus, you can see that as far as the detailing goes, it is beyond beautiful. Really nice texturing to the skin throughout the entire face, as well as some pretty nice like skin wrinkles and stuff, showing off some of the movement of our Bajadasaurus. You can see the nostrils are up here on the top of the head, which looks really nice. And actually, they give you two different head sculpts for this that you can take off with a magnet, because I can actually remove the head sculpt completely, and then I can bring in a different head sculpt. And at first, I couldn't figure out what the difference was, and the nostrils are actually at the tip of the snout on this version. But if we take a look at the version I just had on, the nostrils are up at the top of the head. I believe this is what we think Bajadasaurus did have as far as the nostrils and the positioning, but I could be wrong. Maybe they've discovered something new that I'm unaware of, but this one, again, was the one that I decided to use. You can see some really beautiful coloration to the face with some nice variations of browns and off-whites. as well as a black ring around the eye that stripes down into the face, and then there's kind of like some white under that area in the eye socket area, as well as that white that stripes underneath the black, giving it again a little hint of flashiness there on the face, which looks really nice. The mouth is slightly open, as you can see right there, and the teeth are kind of exposed a little bit. You can see the teeth are sculpted beautifully and as well as painted quite nicely with kind of a mixture of like some off-whites and some slight hints of yellows and stuff. Very nice looking. There's also some yellow here in the throat of the Amargasaurus, again just for that little added extra bit of coloration to the model. We darken the coloration as we reach up here to the top, as you can see, like a mixture of some dark browns and blacks, and then you lead up into these spines of the Bajadasaurus, which is pretty much the trademark of the dinosaur and why it's so unique and interesting looking. And you can see that even those are super nicely done as far as the actual detailing aspect goes. Like, they are really beautifully sculpted, but there's also a lot of really nice paintwork to them. As you can see, even hints of like greens and whites, grays, blacks. Like, there's a lot going on, and they are just insanely striking, and they run the course of the entire body. You can see they, of course, decrease in size as we reach the lower part of the neck before they taper off, but they just look gorgeous throughout the entire model. And you can see more really nice detailing here in the neck of the Bajadasaurus. Really beautiful scale detail as we move down the course of the dinosaur's neck, and a lot of different variation of color as you have lighter and darker shades of brown and numerous lighter and darker shades of brown. And then as you get closer to the top of the neck before it transitions back to those dark browns and blacks, you have like a reddish brown, which really gives a nice bit of flashiness to the neck area of the dinosaur. And then here on the underside, you have a nice variation of white that runs the course of the underside of the dinosaur. You can see some nice folds and wrinkles here in the skin as the dinosaur has its head turned to the right a good bit, and you can see that really nicely displayed within the sculpt of the Bajadasaurus. As you move down the course of the neck, the detailing, of course, does not cease. It continues to look incredible no matter where you look at it. You can also pick up on like some nice tensing here in the neck. Again, so many different variations of those darker browns and blacks and stuff mixing up here at the top of the neck, just giving it such a realistic appearance as far as the coloration goes and the paintwork. As you move down here into the body, you can make out the shoulder blade a little bit right there, as well as some really nice muscle definition here in the front leg, as that leg is actually picking up off of the ground. You can see that that one is actually picking up as the opposing leg is really quite planted, holding the entire weight of the front of the dinosaur as it's taking a step and walking along. The coloration looks gorgeous throughout that front leg as well. Just so many different variations of color included. It just has such a really realistic appearance in hand. And then of course the foot sculpt looks really nice. I'm almost terrified to try to get that foot sculpt in a better position to actually see it. There we go. It's again a resin model, so you have to be pretty careful with it not to break it, and that tail's quite long back there. But you can see the nail there on the side of the foot is also really nicely sculpted, really nicely painted as well, giving a bit of a glossy look so it shines like real nails would. As we move further into the body of the dinosaur, you reach the stomach region. You could see some skin stretching off of the body right here, again just showing off some of the movement of our Bajadasaurus, as well as some nice skin wrinkles and stuff throughout. The dinosaur does have some decent girth here in the stomach region. If we look up above, you could definitely see that it's a nice, healthy, well-fed animal. And again, some really nice scale detail throughout the entire stomach region. You can even pick up on the rib cage a little bit. If you look at it from the correct angle, you can definitely pick up on that. Again, the paintwork continues to just look absolutely beautiful throughout. If you come back here, you can now pick up on the hip bone of the dinosaur, as well as kind of like those ridges that run along the spinal column of our Bajadasaurus. They are kind of like in a double-edged row here, but then they transition to a single row of ridges as you lead out the length of the tail. And again, the coloration is just phenomenal. Like, this paintwork of this model is really beautiful. You can see some more really nice muscle definition in the leg here. As we move down the course of the leg from the thigh down into the knee, you can see the kneecap right there, as well as kind of like some skin wrinkles in the knee. The skin texture just looks super nice. You can see here in the lower part of the leg, really nice looking. Again, the foot sculpt is beautiful as well, with some really nicely painted nails back here with a black coloration, yet again given a glossy look. And then we move up into the tail. Again, you can see the skin stretching off of the thigh right here into the tail. Really nice detailing in that area. The underside also sports some beautiful texturing to the skin, and some more really nice paintwork as we have those darker tones of color just kind of leaking down sporadically. Like there's no specific way that it comes down. It's just really erratic as far as like the darker coloration mixing with that kind of like tannish coloration here for the underside, and then it transitions back to a white for the entire underside. So quite a bit of color variation there as well. And again, you can see the really nice ridges that run along the back of the dinosaur's tail. Also, a really nice wash has been included, like a nice dark wash, and you can see that even up there on the ridges. And of course, the dinosaur's tail is really nice and big and bulky, but being a sauropod, it's quite long, so you can see it runs out quite far, has a really nice curve as we reach the end of the tail, and just an absolutely majestic looking sauropod right here. If we turn it around, you can see the head sculpt again looks pretty much the same on this side, just like it did on the initial side. There's no real big difference. The eyes are painted with a greenish coloration, giving a nice black pupil. You move back here into the neck, and of course we have the same style of coloration as we had on the opposing side, but this side you can see a lot more stretching to the skin because the dinosaur's looking away. So it's really nicely stretching the skin here in the neck, and you can see that throughout the entire course of the neck. It is really beautifully displayed in the sculpt of this Bajadasaurus. And of course we have those really nice spines up here again on the top of the neck of the dinosaur that looks super nice, but they keep tapping the backdrop there, so I'm going to move past this just so I don't damage those, because the dinosaur's facing in that area, so it's a little tough to really get it into frame quite nicely in that spot. So we'll go ahead and get some, footage of it from a little bit of a wider view for you guys to check out here in a few minutes. But you can again see the nice tensing here in the neck as we move down into the body here of our Bajadasaurus. You can again pick up on the shoulder blade a little bit, as well as the really nice muscle definition right here in the front of this leg. Moving down into the leg, you can even see like some tensing to the leg, because this leg is supporting the majority of the weight of the front of the dinosaur here, because this leg is actually picking up off of the ground. You can again see that the detailing here in the stomach region is just gorgeous. There's not too much difference on this side compared to the initial side, due to the dinosaur being in almost a neutral-ish type of a positioning. Like the dinosaur isn't in any kind of like a dramatic running position or anything, so the legs aren't too far off from each other, but you can really see how beautiful the like skin detail and everything is. I think this leg here is a little bit further forward than the opposing leg is. You don't see the skin stretching off of the body as much. You see it kind of bunching up a little bit more so on this side. And again, the rib cage is present over here, as well as that gorgeous skin texture and the beautiful, beautiful paintwork of the Bajadasaurus. As you move back here into the hip region, again, that is nicely displayed in the sculpt, and you can really see how close we are, just how incredible that actual skin texture is. Lots of creasing and everything as we move down the course of the thigh. The really beautiful muscle definition as well. You have the kneecap again over here. Really nice appearance to the calf as we move down into the foot. Again, the nails are painted beautifully. The paintwork on this is honestly top notch, like really, really well done. And then you can see the skin stretching off of the leg a lot more so over here as it reaches the tail, because again, this leg is further forward a bit more so than the opposing leg, so you would see the skin stretching over here a lot more than it was on the opposing side. But again, absolutely gorgeous. As we move out the length of the tail, I have to reposition my hands, move out the length of the tail, you can see how incredible it looks the entire way out. Just absolute pure majestic beauty. Without a doubt is this incredible Bajadasaurus, and you can see the underside as well is really, really highly detailed. Again, just beyond impressive throughout the entire course of this dinosaur. It is easily one of the most impressive models that I have in my collection. No questions asked. Memory Museum nailed this Bajadasaurus. And then, of course, we have the base, and you can see the base as well sports some really nice paintwork to it. Again, a very nice earthy area to the base down here, as well as some nice variations of darker and lighter browns, giving the entire thing a very realistic and lifelike appearance as far as the earthy area that our dinosaur is standing on. And again, we have that marble-like base down here, which is really beautiful. Just gives the entire thing a very museum-like appearance to it. So on top of the incredible dinosaur, to give you a super high quality base to make sure that it is the highest of quality overall. And then here on the underside, we have Memory Museum, Planet Earth Sculpture. Again, the sculptor, who is Keith Strasser. Cretaceous Bajadasaurus statue, and then limited edition and it is a 1/15th scale, so that tells you that, again, it is a very large model. So absolutely incredible. Again, very high quality. You can see those little rubber circles down here on the bottom to make sure that it doesn't move around or anything, stays nice and safe. So the base is pretty much just as nice as the Dinosaur, but of course the Bajadasaurus is the star of the show, really giving the entire thing a very impressive appearance. Again, with the base, you can see the footprints of the Dinosaur. The back two are the only ones that have the magnets, so you just have to position your Bajadasaurus in the, of course, correct position to apply it to the base. So once you get your Dinosaur, I'm actually going to try to stop the force from really pulling it in. So there we go. We did it nice and slowly and carefully, because those magnets actually have some really strong pull. Like, it actually pulls the Dinosaur in quite a bit when you put it to the base, so it's probably a good idea to do it, slowly and carefully so that you don't chip the model or anything. But again, it applies itself really nicely, and it's actually really sturdy on the base. Like, it doesn't move around much. The front legs do lift up because, again, those do not have magnets, but the back legs are really, really sturdy, and the Dinosaur stays planted on the base perfectly. As far as a size goes, for a length, if we can get the tape measurer out long enough, again, being a 1/15 scale sauropod, it is huge. So you were looking at about 29, just shy of 29.5 inches, or about 75 centimeters. So extremely long, of course. That's exactly what I expected from a big sauropod. And then for a height, the highest point is definitely the spines here on the back of the neck. You are looking at about, I'd say, 10.5 inches, or about the 27 centimeter range, roughly. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon in comparison to our absolutely awesome and quite large Memory Museum Bajadasaurus here. And you can definitely see next to these guys, again, the fact that this is a very, very large sauropod, and definitely one of the largest sauropods in my collection, no questions asked. It probably the most impressive, I would say, as far as the overall appearance goes, but hopefully next to these guys, again, it'll give you a pretty good idea of the size. And then for another comparison, as far as sizes go, we have the Primitive Man from Memory Museum next to the Bajadasaurus, again giving you an idea as far as what the sizes of those two would be in comparison to each other. The Memory Museum line is all 1/15th scale. Every single model is released to scale with each other, so that is a really cool aspect of this line. And again, actually, I should probably push him back a little bit so he's more correctly sized. He was a little bit further forward, but you can definitely get a good idea of how they size next to each other as well. So this Memory Museum 1/15th scale Bajadasaurus statue is, again, easily and without question, one of the most visually impressive models I have in my collection. And honestly, looking at it, it might be the most visually impressive model I have in my collection. Like, it is just drop dead gorgeous. The sculpt, of course, is phenomenal, and even if you took away the really flashy spines up there on the back of the neck of the Bajadasaurus, and you just had this as a random casual sauropod, without that flashy area of the dinosaur, this is still an extremely impressive sauropod model. The sculpt is incredible as far as the fine detail. Like, every ounce of movement is shown perfectly throughout the sculpt, but the actual skin texture is just super, super appealing to the eye. And I am a huge fan of sauropods, so I honestly could not be more excited to have such an incredibly impressive and large version of this sauropod out now for me to have in my collection, especially one that is so highly detailed like this one is. The sculpt is really nice and casual as far as the positioning of the body. The Bajadasaurus has its head turned in a right position. The tail is just waving along nice and very realistically, nothing overly dramatic, as the dinosaur is kind of standing there. It almost looks as though it's maybe just standing there for a moment, kind of trying to get an idea as far as what it wanted to do next. It just decided, and now it's starting to take a step forward, or maybe it was just, foraging and just decided to take a step to a different tree or something. Who knows exactly what the dinosaur was doing, but again, it's a very nice and kind of a relaxing pose for the dinosaur. Nothing super dramatic. There doesn't appear to be any type of a look of fear or anything on its face, so I don't feel like there's any kind of a threat nearby. Like, it's just a Bajadasaurus enjoying its day, looking just beautiful beyond belief. The paintwork as well is probably probably my favorite out of any Memory Museum model that I have, which is one thing that's really impressive to say because they've always continuously delivered beautiful paint apps on their models, but this one specifically might be my favorite because there's just so much coloration included, and it's mostly darker tones, but they've managed to cram so many different variations of like lighter and darker shades of browns and blacks and khaki type tan colorations, off whites, reddish browns. Like, there's so much color included on this sauropod, just giving it an insanely realistic look. And the usage of the browns, especially as you get closer to the feet, just gives the dinosaur kind of like a dirty and very lifelike appearance due to that area looking kind of like it's, not the cleanest dinosaur in the world. Being a giant sauropod, I wouldn't expect it to be nice and shiny. It's going to have that kind of dirty, sort of weathered appearance to it, and it definitely has that on this model. But on top of having those dark tones of color, it also has a lot of flashiness with that really nice reddish brown type of a coloration there in the neck and face area, as well as those, of course, incredibly impressive spines up there on the back of the neck of the Bajadasaurus, which is just one of the most impressive areas of this dinosaur. It is truly a sight to behold in person. I honestly am almost in awe every time I actually stop here and kind of take a look at it, take a step away, and really take the whole thing in. It just blows my mind how beautiful and majestic this sauropod model truly is. And on top of that, you have that really nice base with a very nice earthy area to it, and then the kind of marble-like area underneath, just topping off the overall high-quality feel, taking it from just a really nice collectible statue to having that kind of museum-quality feel to it. So if this is something you are interested in, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase one for yourself. Definitely a huge recommendation from me, and to say this is worth the wait was an understatement. I am just almost breathless looking at this unbelievable model from Memory Museum. So again, make sure you check the link in the description if you are interested in picking one of these up, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.